the back, the VOD and the silver screen. Kevin and Tom and Joe know all there is to know, from masterpieces to deep fried tacos. And if the movie sucks, you might hear them say, there's no telling where the guys will take you. Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, cause we already warned you. Better watch out, it's gonna ruin the plot. Real spoilers. Real spoilers. Real spoilers.
Broadcasting from the lush but not lavish studios located in the basement of the O'Keefe Institute for Advanced Film Snarkitude, this is Real Spoilers episode 823. Y2. Okay.
We survived it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fine.
Yeah. So let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Joe. Get out of here. You're a guest.
Sorry.
No, I was going to let him.
Have it.
Oh,
No, that's true. It,
Have
it
it.
was
that
them
is-
than you.
it
It's
was-
been so long.
it has
Have
been.
it.
Okay,
That's
hang
true.
on. Let's do it again. Let's go around the table and everyone can introduce themselves.
This is Dan.
This is Joe.
And this is Tom. Kevin is out this week.
So's Blake, but
Well, yeah. And joining us, returning from the salt mines, it's Dan Graney. Hey, Dan.
we paid the bill to get the lift.
Thanks.
to come
I
out of the
appreciate it.
salt
It was very dark down there. It was kind of lonely.
And it's bad for your blood pressure. True.
It is. You know, I had to reduce that.
But it's delicious.
Lots
It
of
is.
salt. Lots of salt licks down there.
Because we're old.
No, I get it.
And you haven't hit this point yet. Do you have to do the fake salt yet?
No.
I
what's
had to
that?
start doing the fake salt.
Really?
Yeah.
What's the fake salt?
It's I don't know how to put that in simpler words.
Well, I mean,
for
like,
you.
what is is
Joe,
it?
it's salt that's not real.
Well, then it's not salt.
Yeah.
Fake salt.
It's called the
What is
brand
it- what
I've
is it
chosen
called?
is called New Salt.
New
Oh.
salt.
NU, because they know you're at the age where you grew up with rap rock.
I was thinking
Yeah.
Limp Bizkit.
Yeah, and so you want the new metal.
Yeah, right.
And now I got the new salt.
Got the new
Yeah,
salt.
it was either going to be in you or something like with a Z or a lot of X's.
It's got
Yeah.
an umlaut on top of it.
Yes,
That's,
yes,
yeah.
But it's not very good. It's okay if you mix it in with something like
With salt.
When I mix it in with like a sauce, it's okay.
Okay.
But if you just try to put it on like eggs or salt,
Does it have the
or
consistency of salt?
meat? Yeah,
Okay.
but if you just put it on like eggs or meat, it's not very good. So
Yeah, I don't need that yet.
yeah, so
You beat us all.
I
to
would
the-
probably just not use it. You haven't sold
I
me
would.
on it.
I would risk it.
well, I'm trying to not have to take blood pressure medicine.
That's
no,
fair.
no,
That's fair.
that part I understand. I think I would just not.
You just take the blood pressure medicine.
Oh no, no, no,
You
no.
just-
I
you
would
just skip
not-
salt
I would just
entirely.
skip it.
Well, that's lunacy.
Well, yeah.
Been to plenty of restaurants where it's like, man, there is nothing going on this dish.
Yeah.
Give me a little bit of salt, just a little bit, a little
Yeah.
skosh.
Really? Because normally food at restaurants is
Oh,
oversalted.
I've-
Is what
I've
they say. You can't oversalt something for me, which is why I'll be dead
Oh.
soon.
Yeah.
But
You can for me, but it is. Yeah.
I always the way I eat,
Yeah.
which is like I always say like when it comes to like my salt intake, I'm like, look, here's the deal. I don't drink.
That's okay.
I don't smoke.
Fair.
I've really cut back on the black tar heroin.
That's good.
And so I'm like,
What about the fentanyl?
give me the salt.
Yeah.
Right.
Look, I've done everything right.
Like, come on. Like you don't you and my soda.
Right.
Like those are my vices. Like you don't go into an AA meeting and start yelling at them for smoking. Right?
True.
This
You
is
know,
true.
you
It's true.
choose your battles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so choose your battles.
Yeah.
me the-
So
give me the
you're
salt.
salty and I'm sugar.
Yeah. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah, like I mean I like sweet things, but I don't have like a
I don't know,
Sweet tooth.
I have a
I-
like
genuine
it's
addiction.
Yeah.
It's my.
Yeah.
It's my. Those are my vices. My
Yeah.
vices are coffee, caffeine, coffee,
Oh, caffeine is
coffee,
Yep.
coffee, and sugar.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If I could mainline caffeine, I would find a way to do it.
Yeah, I'm like I drink a lot of soda, but not for the caffeine.
Just for the taste.
That's what I tell myself.
Yeah. Right.
For the taste.
Right. Right. Right.
I like, and I tend to drink soda instead of having a snack, which is why.
Oh, okay.
Which is why I drink like I don't even know if I should say it out loud.
You have a large. You have a steady soda.
I'm never
intake.
not drinking a soda. Like I drink probably 12 to 14 cans of soda a day.
That is.
Holy
It's a lot.
I don't think the salt's a problem.
It's a lot. It's diet soda, so it's
That doesn't matter.
it's whatever, but it's not making me fat.
That's
no.
Yeah.
No.
But it's whatever weird chemical they put in there.
It's
But,
it's actually
Is that
the-
aspartame?
So
Yeah.
there are some that have.
I'm-
I think
I-
a lot of them have gotten rid of aspartame.
I'm Coke Zero. Well, it was weird. So it's like Diet Pepsi
Yeah.
was aspartame,
Right.
Mhm.
and then it got rid of it,
Right.
Mhm.
and it totally changed the taste.
Yes.
And I adapted.
As you do.
And as you do, and I got used to it. I'm like, okay, I'm good. But then sales had dropped, and they switched back to aspartame.
That was too sweet.
And now I'm like, well, now I got to get used to the taste again. But in the meantime,
Mm-hmm.
going to AMC theaters,
Mm-hmm.
they have Coke products, and
Right.
I didn't really like the taste of fountain Diet Coke, and so I tried the Coke Zero, and
It's
I was
good.
like, I really like the Coke Zero.
Coke
so
Zero's
now
good.
I'm Coke Zero.
I can tell you, the Pepsi Zero, not good.
Yeah,
Don't like it.
I agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so but the Coke Zero is really good. So now I'm a Coke Zero guy. For years I was a Diet Vanilla Pepsi guy. Some might recall, and
I don't recall.
And then it
Oh,
would,
I remember you had like a wall of it.
yeah, because they didn't sell it in this region, and so I had to drive to just outside of our marketplace where there was a different bottler, and it is pronounced bottler.
Oh, I believe you.
And so I had to drive just into the next district,
Mm-hmm.
and so I would just buy it all and then bring it home. And then they finally stopped making that, and then they switched to Diet Cherry Pepsi.
That's not bad.
That's good.
Yeah.
I like that. And then, but then they did the game with the chain,
Mm-hmm.
and then I switched. Now I'm at Coke Zero, which was just easier to find Coke Zero.
Very much so.
And so, and
When-
now it's great because when I go to Disney World,
Oh, it's easy.
as I
money.
am wont to do,
Sure.
like their Coke house. And so it was always kind of like the downside of me going to Disney World when my palate was adjusted for Pepsi, it was a week of Coke, right? And their Coke tastes different because their water's different. Because like
Oh, because I put Coke in it. That's why it tastes different.
because like even now like when I go their soda tastes different because I think because they probably don't put fluoride in the water there.
Well, they
'Cause-
sure
'cause
won't in about 4 months.
Because it's DeSantis. but yeah, so there's
When I was drinking,
yeah.
I enjoyed Michelob Golden Draft Light, and they did not sell it in St. Louis because they were afraid of what it would do to the Bud Light sales. So you had to drive over to Illinois to get the beer, and
Yeah.
then come back. I'm glad I quit drinking. Like I don't have to drive. And now they sell it in
That's-
St. Louis. So it's like
that's the
that's
reason you're
yeah,
glad.
100% the reason
Yes.
why I don't have to drive to
Not
Illinois.
better life choices.
No.
I still get to see my kids.
Yeah, right.
It's just like, but the
I don't wanna
drive.
Yeah, I don't drive.
wanna
I don't drive and get that beer.
So this episode is brought to you by the AARP.
And AA apparently.
Yeah,
That's it.
and AAA. Yeah.
Put them all on the list.
You can't spell AARP without AA.
That's true.
That's their new slogan.
I like that.
So anyway, let's do some shameless plugs before we dig in. Don't forget we're available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, iHeart, TuneIn, wherever you find a podcast. You can find us while you're there. Be sure and follow us so you never miss an episode. Maybe leave us a review. That is super helpful and greatly appreciated. You can find us on Facebook at facebook.com/real spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group. It is called the League of Show Sharers because we are hoping you will share an episode. People who were kind enough to share an episode last week include Travis Tewitt, Librarian Cynthia, Ralph Tribble, Chris Valls, Tom Dowdy, Phil Timon, Michael Tonkovic, Richard Krotzer, Chris Magic Man, Tammy Lynn Powers Betts, Gabriel Lugo, Julianne Jordan, Heather Sachs, Ken Holtzhauser, Spoiler Piece Theater, Ryan Terry, Geek to Me Radio, In Session Film, Dissect That Film, Nostalgia Cast, Ronnie Castle, Colby Mack, Mike, and Oscar, and Matt Naglia. So thank you very much. Also, don't forget, we are available on Patreon. Patreon.com/Real Spoilers, where for $5 a month you get all sorts of bonus content. One day we will release the episode I finally recorded for our Patreon.
A month ago.
It's
Maybe
been-
more than that.
Maybe longer than
It was
that.
longer than that.
Yeah, because I was still married to my first wife.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's how we got you out of there.
Yeah. And yeah, $5 a month. You get all sorts of bonus content, and we like you.
There's
extra.
a lot. It's funny. I was going through it the other day. There's a lot. I forgot how long ago we started that Patreon. There's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah.
interviews with directors, Radio Silence. I did an interview with them
Before they were a big deal.
before they were a big deal. I think we had just
Back when they would still reply to us.
That's correct. They had just done Ready or Not. I think that had just come out.
Gotcha.
So it was right after that. Matt McCarthy, who's a stand-up comedian, there's stuff on there. If you're local in St. Louis, there's some stuff with local DJ Learn is on there as well. So there's all kinds of commentaries and extra movies. There's all kinds of stuff on there.
Yeah.
For $5 a month.
And then finally, don't forget you can watch all these over on YouTube. So there's that.
Where am I? Wait,
They're all over the
I
place.
think you're
Yeah.
here. No,
We've
wait,
got
I'm
one
there.
here. We've got the
I think-
Chuck
I think
Berry
you're-
cam in the
yeah.
bathroom.
Yeah, I think you're there.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey.
So
Camera 1, camera 2. Camera
Y2K.
1. So, okay. I loved this movie.
I was like, did it work
It
for
worked-
anybody? It
it
did not
worked-
work for me at
So,
all.
okay, do you like Kyle Mooney?
Intermittently.
That's the key.
Like, and I know that he's got a very like off kilter sense of humor.
Yes.
And it either works for you or it doesn't. And I will say on SNL, like sometimes I liked it. Sometimes I just feel like this isn't funny.
Yeah.
It's just weird for the sake of weird. And I feel like there is a very narrow sliver of people for whom this movie will, I think, really hit the right spot.
It hit the right spot for me.
And I think for everybody else, not so much.
Yeah.
Okay. I actually wrote notes.
Oh, yeah.
Not much. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Was it just like over and over again, like didn't laugh?
Well, I'll just start with I said bottom line. It's a horror comedy that's never very scary and not quite funny enough.
That was what I was telling people. I was like, look, if you like him and you're into his comedy, I
Yeah.
think he's gonna smash it out of the park.
There's a period of about 5 years where every third movie was something like this.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, and like if you're into that subgenre and you are of the right age, and as we established at the opening of the show in our AARP sponsored segment, Dan and I are a smidge older than you.
Sure.
And I think you're the right age.
I was 17 and 18 in 2000.
Right.
So like this
Right.
is right
Oh,
in my
you are the audience.
Yeah. Whereas I was 62.
Yeah.
Sure.
I was actually dead.
Yeah.
and,
Came back.
resurrected.
Yeah.
Yeah. By Y2K.
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, I would have been 30. I turned 30 in 2000. So I
Okay.
was 29 at Y2K.
Yeah.
And so like, you know, this is very much The Faculty, Can't Hardly Wait,
That's a great. Yes.
those
Yes.
sorts of things.
Yes, it
and
is.
so if you
I love The Faculty, by the way. That's a great movie.
yeah, and so like if you it's the movie that ended Kevin Knowles' career
It is.
from Ain't It Cool News.
Harry Knowles.
Harry Knowles.
Sorry,
That
Harry.
ended his career.
I mean, so like it basically they flew him to the
Oh.
set and they like really sucked up to him and
Yeah.
it like ruined his
He-
credibility
Yeah.
as being,
He's in the movie. He's like
he's like the
the
janitor or
yeah.
something, and people basically figured out that they had essentially bribed him to like the movie.
Yeah.
And it just
I feel like he
it
was.
ended that site in
Oh.
terms of its. I mean, I know it's probably still around in some capacity, or no, I don't know, but
He's a monster.
but it like really brought into
Yeah.
all that out.
There's is it okay if I mention another show? There's a podcast called Download the Rise and Fall of Ain't It Cool News.
Oh, for real?
Highly,
Oh, that sounds good. I want to.
highly recommend it. It's many episodes and it's
Yeah.
very very thorough and it's ugh.
Because there was a period where that website was.
Oh, it was the
Oh,
thing.
it was
I
it?
see, and I was like, because I was a very avid at my job when the internet came to be for the popular, for the general populace. I was like the second or third person to have internet because they wanted me to test it out. So,
Okay.
and I was young.
Yeah.
I was probably at that point now 27. So I was like, let me test out this internet. and so I was right on top of all the ain't it cool thing. And all the, I mean, like the movies you talk about, there's one that this really, that reminded me of is like, it's definitely got a chunk of a page out of Can't Hardly Wait.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
100%, which I actually thoroughly enjoyed. I still find that movie to be enjoy. I haven't watched it in a long time, so I don't know if it holds up.
It is a little problematic, but I think most movies,
most
from that,
things made longer than 15 minutes ago are.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, you know, it's not the pinnacle of problematic because
No.
I think I hold up, you know, at the top of that summit is
Birth of a Nation?
well, okay, that's
Sounds of the South.
Yes, and Revenge of the Nerds.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
Revenge of the Nerds
is so
bad. Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a very long scene in that where you're just like, in the probably when it came out, you're like, oh man, he got it. He got one over.
Yeah,
in 2024, you're like, okay, you're going to jail.
Whoa,
Okay,
you're a monster.
you are terrible.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, this is there was a part of me was like, I didn't hate this movie, and I think I even like maybe enjoyed it just by the fact that I knew it was only like an hour and a half.
Sure.
I was like, the runtime helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I
So,
can work with
but it was, and there are things I like about the movie. We'll talk about it. But
I was just frustrated because I wanted to like this movie. I thought the concept is great.
Yeah.
And whoever made the trailer deserves a raise because the trailer
Made it look real good.
made it look real good.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I don't feel like the trailer. Like sometimes I see the trailer and then the movie and I'm like, well, they lied. I don't feel like they lied. They just took what was there and tightened it up.
Yeah.
Because so much of it just kind of lays there flat.
It takes you get these beats where it builds up and it's working, and then it's like there's a drop off.
Yeah.
there's definitely some like, well, we'll just have some sort of exposition for these 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Till this thing happens.
Right.
I really wondered if the actors fully understood what sort of movie they were making because there's one.
I think one actor did.
There's one line in specifically that stuck out to me. It's a small moment. Comes towards the end of the movie where the indie rapper is dying, and he says, "I never thought I'd die next to a rap rocker." And then the girl says, "What about next to a homie?" And I was just like, on paper that's funny, and it didn't play funny to me at all.
Oh, so that's because it did to me.
And I was just like, God, I'm like, that is a funny line, but like, it just didn't work with that line reading for me.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And so, like, it makes me wonder, like, were they playing it even drier than I wanted them to?
I thought
or
she was
did
playing.
she just not get the joke there?
I thought the
I
joke
was-
that she thought she was telling was kind of like an 80s action trope.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like where like the guy's dying, he's like, I just want to see what about hanging out with a friend? And like, that guy dies in her arms or whatever. So like that's the way I felt that was being played as like kind of an homage to like that, 80s action trope of the guy not making it to retirement and like dying in the arms of his partner.
Well, the movie suffers for a lot of small reasons.
Sure.
The directing is not great.
It's
the action sequences are very unfortunate.
Yeah.
And I'm not bashing the movie. I just is like, the general look of the movie is real kind of muddy.
Yeah, it is very much so.
I got that. I was fine with the low budget nature of it. There's like a part where it's like, it looks like they just filmed this in the parking lot behind the studio. you know what I mean? It's like it and that's fine. It didn't make any difference.
Right.
It didn't need like a big elaborate sets or.
I was
or
surprised deeper into the movie when we started really seeing a lot of creatures because at first they were kind of hiding the creatures.
Right.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, they just don't have the money.
Yeah.
Or they're going to be small little things.
Yeah.
Right.
And I applaud the practical effects.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Always.
I'm in
always
shock though that it was Weta.
Was it really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I was kind of like, what? That's
Interesting.
weird. But I actually, that was one of the things I liked about the movie was that they went practical. Because the only other thing I would have done with that is either go practical or, and I thought about this, I was like, what if they would have shot the movie with the technology of that time?
Oh, like using CG from
Oh,
1999?
yeah, like that terrible CG.
That would have been wild.
You know what I mean? Where
Yeah,
you're like,
yeah.
"Ugh." But I mean, is that just too meta?
Yeah, like I don't know that people would have really got that it was
it's like,
purposely.
it would have got it.
Yeah.
It's like that's sort of like a
But I
weird joke, but I don't know.
I also think if it was maybe from a bigger studio, they could have established it in terms of they could have used like the logo opening from that time period.
Oh,
of, like,
sure,
if
sure,
it was
sure.
Paramount, whatever Paramount
Right.
was using at that time. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
I think of like I was thinking of the opening credits of Superbad, where they're
Yeah.
doing like that 70s style,
Yeah.
like the superimposed pictures of them dancing or whatever.
Yeah,
just,
it was like
the-
that heat
another
vision.
movie
Yeah.
that this movie is clearly influenced
Big
by.
time.
This movie's got like a list of movies that they
for
they
sure.
just
Yeah.
said, let's take some of that and some of that and some of that, and we'll make it a salad.
yeah, I would say the whole first 20 minutes of our two main characters is super bad.
Oh, yeah.
Like it's the same kind of
Absolutely.
setup and all that stuff. So this is set in the year 1999. It's funny. So I was 17 or 18, and I remember Y2K obviously, but I don't remember like. So I saw this at the Draft House, and they showed like a bunch of different infomercials about the horrors of what could happen.
Yeah.
And I completely forgot of like how much people were freaking out. There's a whole ad with Leonard Nimoy where he's talking about your power is going to go out. The water is going to stop flowing. You're not going to have heat. You're not going to be able to turn on the radio.
Yeah, I mean, people were stocking up on like batteries and bottled
Yeah.
water, and like for younger people, like there really was
like a doomsday
a
prophecy
real
around this.
concern
Yeah.
about like what's gonna happen.
Right. And
And I will
nothing
also
happened.
say it's easy to look back and make fun of,
Right.
but because none of it happened, but a lot of it didn't happen because we took it seriously and did the things.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
Like people did go in and fix codes and like,
Yeah.
and so like, there probably would have been things like that occurring. I mean, probably not to the degree that people were worried about,
Airplanes crashing into each other.
but yeah.
Right.
But there would have been issues if we hadn't gone and done the things, and and so
Well, they were never able to really do a real world scenario to see what would happen because, that would basically mean creating a like sort of bubbled network.
Yeah.
With,
Oh, sure.
you know what I mean? To just sort of like let this little island run and
see what
we'll
happens.
just set the clocks ahead.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens. Well, they weren't really able to do that because ultimately there was always going to be something that you couldn't totally detach. from
right,
it.
everything was too intertwined.
Right.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
they
yeah.
were never able to really do the scenario. I mean, they could do little scenarios like,
Right.
it's like when people would like hack things where they're like, oh, I'm going to set my calendar ahead. Look, I got my credits back.
And nothing happened.
Stuff like that.
Yeah, right.
But you couldn't really do that. So that they had to rely on fixing code and everything else. But it was, a panicky time.
Oh, man.
But also, I just want to say on the tail end, this is one of the things I think as a society we struggle with. We think there's a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We do the things to fix a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then collectively, we're like, well, that problem was never anything worth worrying about, and we were dumb, right?
But we don't, which we don't know.
Like, right,
at
like
all.
people talk about like when, in the 80s and 90s, everything was like, oh, the chlorofluorocarbons are going to destroy the ozone. And now people are like, oh, that was dumb. And it's like, it's not dumb. We fixed it.
Right.
Yeah.
We did the things. We got rid of aerosol cans. Like we did the things and it resolved itself. That's proof that when we do the things, we can have an impact.
When science
It's-
says, hey, let's try this, and we're like, all right, let's try that.
because I promise you, everything you hear today about like, oh, electric car, people were like, oh yeah, my can of Right Guard is what's destroying the internet, or the ozone, like that's stupid. Like those same people were saying that back then, and it's like, and all that's gone, and nobody misses it.
Right, you don't even know. I mean, it's a generational thing.
Yeah,
It's the same thing as people who complain when they flee an area that might be hit by a hurricane and the hurricane doesn't hit.
Right.
And they're like, well, that was dumb.
Yeah.
It's like you really want to roll the dice on that?
It's dumb because it didn't happen.
Yeah.
It's
It makes
not
no
dumb
sense.
when it destroys your
I
coastal
lived
town.
stupid. And that's an argument people make every single time there's a
yeah.
hurricane, and they do flee, and they're like, "Oh, I had to wait in traffic, and it was dumb because it never came." It's like, well, that's a weird thing to be disappointed about.
Oh, I'm really
Now-
pissed that my house didn't get destroyed.
I will also say we don't live in an area that has to deal with hurricanes.
That's true.
And if there's something we had to contend with once or twice a year, we probably would be like, I like packed up everything and left for the last 10 years, and I've
Right.
never been hit. Like, I mean, I get it. I mean, locally, we do the same thing with tornadoes.
Yes, exactly.
And I will
I
also
stand
say,
on my porch, be like, oh man, look at that.
but I will also say, I think the tornado system has gotten too
Indents.
aggressive about
it is
declaring a warning.
Oh.
It is triggered.
Yeah.
The tornado system is triggered.
Yeah.
And the last time it went off, I had to push a couple people down the stairs because it was, like
Do
at
those
3 a.m.
do those
but
people
an
live-
inconvenient.
Do those people live in your house?
Yes.
But they started doing a thing where if it's in an adjacent county,
Yeah.
then they set off the sirens in your county. And so if it's all the way at the opposite end of Jefferson County and you're at the opposite end of St. Louis County, you are in no danger realistically
this
of
is
that
true.
tornado. But they're still triggering the sirens, which is causing people to then ignore them
Yeah.
because they're going off all the time, and like it's not even raining.
Right.
And you're
Yeah.
just like, this is
Why is this going off?
Yeah.
What is it? Is it first Monday of the month? They testing it? What are we doing?
so. Anyway, Y2K.
But no, well, I will say, like, anytime it goes off, I immediately go to the porch and be like, oh, what's going on out there? Like, I can't wait to see what's happening. Like, show me.
Can we say one thing about Y2K, and this will bother me for, I guess I'll die with this always being bothered, is that 2000 is not when the new millennium starts.
Correct. It's 2000. There was no year
2001,
zero.
right?
There was
And
no year zero.
There's no year zero.
Unless
Excuse
you're
me.
a DC fan.
I used to work at an agency. Well, I work at an agency now, but I used to work at a different agency, and one of our clients was Anheuser-Busch. And they were all about, let's get everybody ready. We're going to do millennium advertising. We're going to millennium this, millennium that. And I'm like, and there I am, like kind of a
Pushing up your glasses.
kind of a jerk.
Actually.
Yeah. I said, does it matter at all that this is not the new millennium? No, because everybody else is doing it. And that's exactly what I was told in that way. And I was like, fine.
You got it.
I
Yep.
mean, they're not wrong. Like,
Right.
like most people, if you tried to have those ads in 2000 going into 2001, people would be like, but we just did all that.
Yes.
It was last year. What are you talking
They-
about?
I know. I know.
But you're not.
It's
But
just
you're
this-
not wrong either.
this generally accepted and collective stupidity that I guess we'll just live with forever.
Right.
At least until,
I mean, have you ever seen anything that more encapsulates the age we live in, where it's like, look, we know it's wrong, but enough people believe it to be
We're
true
just going to roll with it.
that it's just not worth
Yeah.
the fight.
Right.
So
Yeah.
don't vaccinate your kids.
I'm still see I'm still bothered by this, and I guess I should just let it go because I won't be around for the next one.
yeah.
So I guess it's
not our
I
pro-
should just let it go.
It's not our
It still
problem.
bothers me, but whatever.
If I'm around for the next one, somebody screwed up.
It just
Like,
it
that's-
just drives me nuts.
Yeah.
But fine.
If I'm around for the next one, thank you, CRISPR.
That's if they figured it out.
It works.
Yeah, it works. So this is, I mean, it is very much set up like a 90s teen comedy. You've got Eli and Danny, who is Jaden Martell, who was young Bill from It, from the first It, and then Julian Dennison, who was in Deadpool 1 or 2.
2. I
He's the
believe.
kid in
He's
2.
the kid. Yes.
Yeah, he's the
Okay.
kid from Deadpool 2. And they're buddies, right? Like they Danny is definitely the Jonah Hill of these two, and Eli is the Michael Cera. And they're getting ready for New Year's, and they think, they've got the cool
New
kids
Year.
are doing
It's only one New Year at a
I
time.
guess that's true. Yeah.
Singular.
New Year. I
Just-
got the
Unless
two
it's
of you.
possessive, and then
God.
I don't know what New Year is
What
owning.
are you
but I
taking?
guess
The day?
could have
New
something.
Year's Day?
Yeah.
I don't know. So they, it's these guys are kind of losers, but they're best friends, and that's okay. But Eli has a crush on this girl, Rachel Ziegler is the actress's name.
How'd they get her?
I wonder when this was filmed.
I know. I'm like, was this film like 5 years ago?
Yeah, I was like,
Yeah.
is this like when Cabin in the Woods was
Right.
just sitting in the can for a
Yeah.
long time, and then they're like, hey,
Because I spent the
let's release that.
Yeah, right.
I spent the whole movie like, who is she?
Yeah.
Like she looks familiar. Never thought it would be her because I was like, well, this is beneath.
There's no
her.
way that's her.
There's
Yeah.
no way this is
yeah.
her.
So I
And-
am curious as to when this was filmed.
Yeah.
Well, her career's going to come to an end in about a year anyway, so it's fine. She made a choice, and we'll see if it pays off. I don't think that it will. It's going to be real bad. It's going to be real bad.
Yeah, I don't know. Just based on track record, I wouldn't typically vote against.
I guess that's true.
Or
That's
bet against Disney.
Yeah, that's fair. But
I mean,
oh boy,
it does look a little odd.
looks a lot odd.
Yeah,
Considering they had to change all of the, I don't know what to call them at this
dwarves.
point.
I mean, that's
the dwarves.
what they're
They're-
called.
Okay,
they're-
dwarves.
they're- Yeah.
From real people to CG characters.
Well, they were going to do. They did. Yeah. Okay, so they were going to do dwarves.
Yeah.
and then
Like actual little people.
and then they're well, I don't know.
I don't
Oh,
think
And then
there
they were going
was.
to do like a mix of just different types of people,
Right.
and then they were like, no. And then they had the backlash,
Yep. Right.
And it's like there are people that you could actually hire, but then there was the double backlash, which is like, well, now,
Right.
What is this?
Uh-huh.
And also, like, we only ever hire them little people to play elves and dwarves.
Right,
and
right.
Santa's helpers.
Yeah, I mean, at a certain point, like the backlashes were like overlapping, and it was kind of hard to like. I don't know which backlash I should be enraged about.
yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Disney said, "Screw it, here you go."
We're just gonna do CGI characters that look like the things
The things that
the
you-
characters in the
Correct.
Exactly.
Well, like in Wicked, the Munchkins aren't like little people. They're just like the guy's just kind of short. And as a guy who's kind of short, now I'm outraged.
Yeah.
I'm like,
You sons of bitches.
well, I'm not a Munchkin.
Yeah.
I'm just not.
What are
very
you saying?
tall.
Didn't they do that in, which one was it? Willy Wonka or
And Willie, well, and then
in the Johnny Depp one.
in the Johnny Depp one, they hired the
It's one guy, right?
one guy, and they just like used him.
CG'd
and,
him like-
and he's short.
He is,
but I
is
don't
short.
know that he's a little person.
He's not. He's in Flash Gordon.
Oh, okay.
And a few other movies.
Has
but,
he been around that long?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
He's
And
he's in Eastbound and Down.
He's been
right?
around
Ooh,
a
that
long
show- that
time.
show's great.
And they made but they also like CGI'd him down even smaller,
Right.
Okay.
which I think is true to the book. But
and then
you
the
know,
Timothy Chalamet is a
and-
CG'd Hugh
Hugh
Grant.
Grant. And they just went over the top and made it something that's not even remotely like
Yeah.
real life.
Right,
yeah,
right,
then
right.
it was like I want to be enraged and I'm not sure. you know.
What do I do now?
So yeah, I mean that whole thing, I don't know.
But they made him. I think he was like orange, and then
He
like,
looked like the
and then like, but then like Trump was outraged.
Cool.
So he's always
he's always outraged. It
So
doesn't
nobody
matter.
could tell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like, what is he mad about? Nobody
it's like
cares.
it's like I tell the kids, all italics is the same as no italics.
Correct. Yeah, it means nothing.
And besides, Hugh Grant's kind of generally regarded as kind of a tool. So the orangeness kind of it tracks.
It works.
Okay.
Yeah, well done. I saw you circled it back there. That was a good job.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they're basically, they've got the cool kid party. They've got Alicia Silverstone as this mom who is like kind of hilarious because she's so awkward, and the way the kid reacts to her is even better, where she's talking about the midnight kiss and he was like, what is happening right now? Like, don't talk to me about this.
Yeah.
I thought the dad was like the lead guy from The Widest Kids You Know, but I don't think that it is. Initially, that's who I thought it was because he was playing it a certain way.
Yeah.
But even the interactions between Alicia Silverstone and the guy's dad, I thought were really funny.
Yeah, they were kind of well, it's like I got where they were going. I wish they would have like maybe cast more and
Sure.
utilized them more.
Yeah. Oh, they were in the movie more? I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
a little bit.
Yeah. Because Alicia Silverstone, I think, is kind of underratedly funny.
Yeah.
I think she's pretty smart about
But that's the guy
comedy and-
from Tim and Eric, the dad.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. That guy.
Is he
I
bad?
hate Tim and Eric.
I've
That's
never
also
really watched it,
I got to
just
tell
know who
you,
they are.
that's another generational thing.
Yeah.
I am too old for Tim and Eric because it did nothing for when Adult Swim like started leaning heavy on a Tim and Eric stuff. I was like,
Yeah.
I'm out. Like none of this
Yeah,
is
I
funny
was
to me.
as an original Adult Swim
Yeah, sure.
person. I don't like to go much beyond Space Ghost, Brack,
Harvey Birdman?
Yeah, Harvey loved Harvey
Yeah.
Birdman and C-Lab 2021.
yeah.
Oh, and Aqua Teen.
Aqua
I was in
amazing.
radio,
I love Aqua Teen.
I did a very brief interview with Blackie Lawless from Wasp,
Yeah.
and it ended when I asked him about
Space Ghost. Because it was awful, right? Like it was.
Because they were always making, I don't even remember anymore, but they were always making Wasp references.
Yeah.
And like he did not like that, and that was the end of the interview. Also, Blackie Lawless is a dick.
Yeah,
He's just a notorious asshole.
Oh my God!
Go
I could
find.
tell you
Brian
stories.
Posehn tells a story about him in a stand-up act. That is, he's like, "Can I get an autograph?" He's like, "Grow some tits, and I'll sign an autograph for you."
We did
and Brian Posehn's like, "I did it."
We did a meet and greet at a local rock club in town, and to get to the meet and greet, you had to buy a copy of the new record. We had like 800 people show up. I mean, when's the last time Wasp sold 800 copies of a record?
Yeah.
And like, he so did not want to do it. I was like, just don't agree to it. Like,
Right.
you know, but they agreed to it. And he would sit there and people would come through and they get their record signed. And like the band was there and the band was great talking to people. And they'd slide the CD cover down the thing, and Blackie Lawless would sign it, wouldn't even look up. And people would be like, "Hey, Blackie, I remember seeing you at Metal's Edge in 1982, and you were great." And he would just be like, sign it, push it forward. Wouldn't even look up at him. Wouldn't
That's
acknowledge their
unbelievable.
existence. Like,
That happened to me with Art Adams.
yeah.
I had a copy of Action Comics Annual #1.
Yeah.
It's Batman and Superman versus a Town of Vampires. It was the first comic I ever bought with my own money. I still had the same copy, like it was taped and put together.
Yeah, it's clearly a well-loved copy.
Absolutely.
Like,
You're
there's a
not
reason
trying
why
to
Yes.
sell this.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
and I was like, this is, I was like, thank you so much. I'm a huge fan. This was the first comic I ever bought, and he was like, and I was like, okay.
And who is this?
Art Adams.
Art? I don't know
Yeah.
that.
He was on the X-Men. He did the X-Men
Okay.
for a while in like the 80s. You would recognize his artwork.
At first, I thought you misspoke and meant Neil Adams, because I was like,
No, Neil Adams is pretty cool.
I'm a Neil Adams.
Actually,
He's great.
I had the infamous cover of like Superman breaking the kryptonite chains.
Yeah.
I had that on like I had two other books, and that one was on the bottom. Like,
Yeah.
two were kind of like modern-esque books. And he signs it, and he goes, "Whose is this?" And I was like, "Well, that's mine." He goes, "This is yours?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he's like, "All right." Like, I guess he was shocked that, considering the two books that were on top of it were kind of newer books,
Right.
Yeah.
And I had this older one on the bottom, and he was like, "Oh, I guess here you go." I was like,
Yeah.
Thanks. But yeah, Art Adams was a dick. And that's
Yeah.
Yeah,
you know.
which
Right. So they're deciding what they're going to do, and finally they run into Rachel Ziegler's character, who does like a booze bail and booze or whatever. And I will say the soundtrack for this is solid for me.
it's spot on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she's obviously madly in love with this girl because she is Rachel Ziegler, but she's also kind of a badass, and she's kind of
She's like a coder.
kind of a nerd. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a shame that Kevin isn't here because I do think the
I
way
wouldn't go that far.
that's the way they show coding in this is
It's-
like right out of Hackers.
Yeah,
like,
it's like I will type while I talk to myself in exposition.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's that, and Kevin. We all know
Yeah.
Kevin loves Hackers.
He does.
Yeah. So they find that. So they get to this party with. Oh God, I wish.
Well, they go to the video store too.
Oh, sure. And
Which, you know,
there's Kyle Mooney, who's like, super stoner, and they rent Junior, which I was like, that's a wild pick of a movie to double down on in this movie.
And this, like, a lot of this period stuff is spot on, but this video store would have been all DVDs.
I don't.
Right.
That's not true. Only because I worked at Blockbuster in 2000, and we hadn't switched yet.
Really?
So, yeah, no, 100%. Because I remember putting out.
Lived in a better
type-
part of town. No, I didn't. I lived in North County.
Yeah, I lived. Yeah, but I remember putting out like Titanic was a double cassette.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I definitely remember putting out cassettes for a while. I think it was like 2001, 2002 when we finally started to like phase out VHS altogether.
That whole, I mean, that whole scene was kind of like, this is where I realized this movie was nostalgic for nostalgia.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, the video store reminds me of RST Video.
Yeah.
Like that's with the movies behind the counter and all that stuff. So it was,
Porn room.
yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
What do you call it? The champagne
The
room.
champagne
Yeah.
room, which I thought was
Yeah.
funny. That's a good little joke.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then they go to this. I guess they go home. They're watching Junior. They're playing whatever, and then basically Danny starts calling Eli kind of the P word.
Yeah.
Because he's just like, we're not, she's there. She's at this party. Let's just go. Let's just do it. And he's like, would a person of you're calling that name do this? And he picks up like a hand weight and smashes the lock off of the liquor cabinet, and they start like,
which is like one of those old luggage locks.
It was like a diary lock,
Yeah.
like the way he smashed it off of there. You're right. You just pull on it real hard.
he
and it'll open.
with his bare hands.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So they start drinking, and again, this reminds me very much of Superbad, where the three of them are running around getting hammered. And then they end up going to this party, and we get the idea that Danny is very much like the fun-loving, party guy. Like, he kind of gets the crowd on his side, and they're doing all this stuff, and then all hell breaks loose. The clocks flip over, and everything kind of shuts down, and then people start dying. We should say it's kind of like Shaun of the Dead in that when you're going through, if you've never seen it, I cannot recommend that enough. It's one of the greatest horror comedies ever made. But throughout the beginning of that movie, Edgar Wright and Simon Pegg and Nick Frost lay out what's going to happen to everyone.
Clever.
It's insanely clever. You see people that you will see later acting a certain way, or and this does that same thing where they get the one character who is I guess has really gotten into ecstasy, and they talk about how the ecstasy has put holes in her brain. Well, guess what? She's gonna die by getting a drill through her head and putting a hole in her head. So like they tried to do stuff like that, and I was like, that's okay, I see what you're trying to do.
Yeah.
And I mean they kill everybody. Like and I thought it was going to be a little bit of Tucker and Dale, where like the gore was going to get ramped up. Yes. And it was just going to be these kids trying to contend with what the fuck is going on. And friends getting their heads set on fire, or CDs getting shot into their face. I'm trying to think of how Soccer Eric or whatever soccer.
Is that the dick in a blender?
Microwave. Oh no, the blender guy.
Yeah.
The
guy's got a blender. Which
why?
He has a blender on his nuts.
Yeah.
And it is blending.
How big was his dick that it went all the way to the blades?
And I'm also like,
I mean, it could happen.
Shut up.
But there was part of me is like,
It's the cross we bear.
Yeah, it's and I didn't even grab them around.
Yeah, right. You let that one go.
The token. Although not really.
Fan service.
It's one of those
spoilers,
things.
fan
It
service,
is. Call back.
Nostalgia for
but the whole thing, it was like when I watched the blender thing, I did actually laugh, but then I was kind of like,
but how did you end up there?
Well, I was like, my only thing is like, then I'm laughing at the scenario of like this guy was like probably like I would have liked to have seen the guy be like, hey, check this out, like so it would have like attacked him.
Sure.
So that's where this movie misses a lot of stuff. It's because at first I was like, well, I mean, from a budget standpoint, it's suffering because they can't really do a lot,
right?
But I was like, no. Here's the thing. The jokes, they could have had all the same stuff and just set it up better and taken it further over the top. With the same tools.
I do kind of like the idea though of not seeing what's like from our main character's point of view, where it's just they're looking into the house and it's just like, what the you've got a guy falling into the microwave, which again, it's like he hit his knee on God damn it, I've done that so many times. It was the washing machine.
Yeah.
I forgot it's open. I run right, shin first into the dishwasher, and then head first into the microwave, or just stuff like that where, these cannon fodder kids are just getting taken out left and right, and you don't need to. For me though, like just for our main characters, just kind of walking through the house and having that carnage happening all around them.
Yeah,
I think that kind of gag is funny.
Oh, I thought it was funny.
Yeah.
I just would have set it up better and like taken it way, way, way over.
Right,
like it was
right,
happening,
right.
But it was all like. Honestly, I think it was just not he a good director.
I don't. It's
the
hard.
director's Kyle Mooney.
Yeah.
He was the director.
Yeah.
Which is a shame because I like him and I want. Like I said, I wanted to like this movie.
Well, I mean, because it's like okay, but. Take this. We're just going to pretend. Pretend Sam Raimi was directing this.
Sure.
Or Edgar Wright was directing this. All the same stuff.
Yeah.
Same actors. Same scenario. Same everything. It just would have worked.
They would have found
That's
a
where
way.
this suffers.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I was thinking when I was leaving, what was that Jack Johnson one? No, Jake Johnson.
Yeah.
What was
Oh,
the one that
yeah.
we saw? Was it?
Where it's like, was it he was supposed to be a time traveler? Or
No,
something?
that's Duplass. The Jack Johnson one
I
is
know
kind
the
of
one
where
you're talking about.
he's like a loser and man,
It's supposed to be like the center of a conspiracy theory. or
maybe that's what it
something.
was.
There was some sort of like high concept to
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Of like, is he crazy or is this
Is he-
really
is it-
happening?
And
yeah.
some of it worked.
Yeah.
But again, it was like a first-time director of a, and sometimes those things work, right? I think of Ben Affleck, who's a guy who's just like, and I think of what Kevin Smith said. He's like, people are just like, why? How did Affleck get so good at directing so fast? And he's like, he was around directors all the time.
Yeah.
Like, he just-
Paying attention.
right. He just picked up stuff from different people and
Yeah.
he did it on his own. And I think Kyle Moody,
Yeah.
Mooney.
Kyle Mooney, Jake Johnson. Jack Johnson's the other guy,
The singer.
the singer guy.
Singer-songwriter.
To me, and this isn't disparaging TV directors, but I think that TV directors have a different way of creating content than a film director.
Film is a director's medium.
Yeah.
TV is a writer's medium.
Yes.
I mean, that's very.
And I think both of those
TV
guys are good writers.
I think
The
TV
Russo
is-
brothers were TV directors.
That's
I
I
gotta
tell you.
I think TV is getting a little. You're seeing more opportunities for there to
Right.
be a director stamp on a TV show.
Those guys are anomalies.
Yes. I mean, but even like, because I'm rewatching
I don't-
Arrested Development. And
Okay.
I'm like, oh, yeah. I forgot they did
Yeah.
some of those.
I mean, but Spielberg started as a TV director.
Absolutely. Night Gallery.
Oh yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Walter Hill started as a
Yeah.
TV director.
Yeah,
Is that
I-
right?
it's-
He did?
Yeah.
Oh.
He was directing TV shows like in the 60s.
Yeah.
Oh.
They just, the stuff that
think he did
these
some, like-
guys that we're talking about, the new guys,
Yeah.
they just weren't really tasked to do much with the directing, or maybe just naturally not that.
Well, that's what I'm
didn't
saying.
the
like-
Visionary.
Didn't the Russo brothers tend to do the episodes of Community that
Yes.
were like high concept
The
parodies
paintball.
of
Yep.
like
They were
of,
the
like,
paintball guys.
other films of like paintball and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think Walter Hill directed like Rifleman or Have Gun Will Travel.
Oh,
something
interesting.
Like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, even Edgar Wright was doing
Yeah.
Spaced.
Yeah.
And when you watch the zombie episode of Spaced, you're like, there it is.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you've got it.
And you can't pin it all on budget because
He got
I
it.
mean, Shaun of the Dead did not have a massive budget.
No.
That's where I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That's all about moving the camera,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because what actually happens from what's you're seeing it's okay. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just not a lot.
Right.
It's moving the camera. This just doesn't have that.
Yeah. I think I do wonder what level of influence Kevin Smith has on guys like this, because I think Kevin Smith is great. I'm a big fan, always have been for a very long time. I haven't seen the 4:30 movie. I would very much like to watch that. If people are like, oh, this is the guy that we missed. But he doesn't move the camera.
He's
No.
he's a better writer than he is a director.
Absolutely.
Kevin Smith.
He-
And I love Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
He's a great storyteller.
He's
Yeah.
a fantastic story.
Pretty good writer.
Yeah.
And I don't really care about his directing at all.
Yeah.
No, you're not there for the camera movement.
Right.
Right.
You're not.
You're there
No.
for the dialogue and stuff
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
But I do wonder I think people my age, for sure, like Mallrats and Clerks were huge when I was a kid, especially at that age, watched his style of movie making and were just like, and he had the same thing with Slacker.
Yeah.
When he's watching Slacker, he's like, well, fuck, I can do
I
that.
can do that.
Like, that's easy. And I think that there's some level of that with
Yeah.
guys today who are closer in age probably to me than to you guys. No
Well,
offense.
this movie is definitely for anybody who's aspiring, and
yeah.
I can do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
there's
I-
nothing
and
in
I
this
did-
movie that I was like, yeah, you
You can
can
figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we actually, unfortunately, we do lose Danny. Like Danny, they get to this garage. They've got the one guy from I think it was Argyle from Stranger Things.
Yeah.
is in this. Who I think is, I like that guy. He's got one of the best scenes of the whole movie.
He does.
So,
Honestly,
it's
I
so good.
laughed. Probably most at that.
Yes, it was very funny. They end up in this garage and they're trying to get out. And as they're trying to get out, Danny is impaled through the back through like a buzz saw, and we get actually a good scene between the. Again, I was thinking of Shaun of the Dead, like when Ed gets spoilers for Shaun of the Dead from 2004. When
20-year-old spoiler.
Yeah, I guess that's true. When Ed gets bit, and they have that moment in the cellar where Shaun and Ed are just like, "This is it, man. Like, I'm not gonna make it out of here." They have their best friends. This was very similar.
Yeah.
So I'm just gonna call him Argyle. Puts on rollerblades. He's like, "Yeah, man, those are mine. I almost made the 1997 X Games prelims." And then they get outside, and there's a downed basketball hoop, and he goes, "Yeah," and he goes and he tries to grind on the pole, and he just eats it and kills himself because he knocks himself out on the concrete and just blood everywhere.
Awesome.
Was like, if they stick with that tone, we're golden. Like, this is gonna be great. They don't.
It would be funny if somebody made a movie like this and everybody ends up dying, and it's never from the monsters.
not the thing.
No, it was what was the Pete Holmes one? Not Pete Holmes.
Bodies.
Yes.
Yeah. I guess they do kind of do that there, don't they? Yeah.
Where it's just completely by accident.
Yeah.
Like, people start dying. Everybody dies in that movie by accident.
Yeah.
Not Pete Holmes. Pete Davidson.
It's funny though. I knew what you meant.
Yes, I do love Pete Holmes, though. I think Pete Holmes is
Joe
very funny.
fluently.
Thank you
Dear
for
God.
At 13 years in this, man. So now they're basically just trekking across town and trying to avoid technology. The one, like, he picks up the robot picks up a beeper and I guess and integrates the beeper into the technology.
There's a Tamagotchi on one thing.
that was pretty good.
That made me laugh.
Right,
I was
right.
like, yeah, it's funny.
They come across the Collective, which is like this group of stoners. One of the stoners is Kyle Mooney. The other one is the brother from Scream, the two new Scream movies. He's Randy's nephew in that. And nothing really happens here. We finally figure out the big set piece here is we learn that the singularity is about to occur, and it's all happening at the school. So our heroes have to get back to the school. And at this point, they're just picking off. I thought they were going to kill everyone.
Yeah.
Like, that's where I thought we were going. I was kind of thinking it was the end of, spoilers for Cabin in the Woods.
Well, yeah. I mean,
nobody makes it out of that alive.
I mean, that's where this is like, there is like shades of Cabin in the Woods here. It's also, this is the end.
This is the end. Yeah.
I thought there was some of that.
The night we closed Blockbuster.
Yeah.
For good.
Yeah.
Our manager had bought all of us a copy of This Is the End.
Oh.
And handed that out to all of us. Everybody that worked there. I was like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
That's very funny. But same. Yeah, absolutely the same. Where now the town is just desolate and blown up, and there's fires everywhere.
And we saw that they were installing broadband at the school early on.
Right.
Which I was like, I don't know if that's
broadband in 2000.
Right? Yeah, I was.
Because I guess, does the mom say,
well,
we're gonna have DSL?
Yeah, she does say we're gonna get DSL. I had DSL.
Yeah.
In 2000?
And because I remember all this stuff I was stealing off Napster.
Sure.
Yeah.
100% agreed.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm surprised this movie did not have a Napster reference.
I was kind of. It does kind of, like, in the beginning when you're looking at his
computer screen.
you can see the AIM chat bot. You can chat box, but he's also burning a CD.
Yeah, I saw him burning a CD.
So I was like, it's kind of. But Napster, LimeWire, Kazaa, whatever.
Well, it would have been Napster in 99.
In 99 for sure.
Yeah, because then LimeWire and Kazaa come after.
Any
because
chance
Napster
we can have
shut
to
down.
destroy a computer
Yeah.
with one service. So they, I almost called him Bill because that's who wasn't it. But Eli, after losing his best friend, he has a moment where all of the remaining survivors go into a porta potty. And the porta potty like falls over.
Gross.
And it is one of the few times where I was just like, bleh. And he and Eli and Rachel Ziegler are having a moment, and it looks like they're gonna kiss, but they just get sploshed with whatever's in the porta potty. And he breaks down when they get out, where he's got like, I thought they were Vans, but he's got like skater shoes. Mm-hmm. He's like, why do I even have these? Like, these are stupid. And I was like, those are stupid. I don't know why you have those. So they decide they're going to go back to the video store because they have to get something. So they go back to the video store, and in one of the wildest cameos I never expected,
Steals the movie.
Absolutely,
I was
he
really
does.
bummed when I messaged you, Dan, and was like, "We're doing Y2K," and you're like, "Okay," and you're like, "Oh, I didn't know Fred Durst was in this." I was like, "Damn it, you would have enjoyed it so
I
much
would have
more."
probably enjoyed it more.
Because I had no idea he was in
I
this.
just didn't genuinely. I knew nothing about this.
So
movie.
I had seen.
So when he said we're doing Y2K, I thought we were gonna talk about. I was like, what a weird
we don't
subject.
do we don't do movies anymore.
No.
We just talk about
Random-
Like, well,
yeah.
I got some stories. Let me tell you about this whole "it's not the Millennium" thing. So yeah,
That's
then
so
I had
funny.
to like go, oh, it's a movie I didn't know anything about.
Well, I had seen, I watch Hot Ones because I think that show is pretty great.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they have them with the main host, but then other times they have them with two actors that are doing it, And I saw one, the screenshot of Kyle Mooney and Fred Durst, and I was like, what a weird fucking pairing!
Right.
Where did
Wow.
that come from? And now I know where it came from. Fred Durst is in this movie as Fred Durst. He was doing a
and
concert.
he's in the
He's-
last 30 minutes,
and
he's in it a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
He and Wes Borland is also in this movie.
Was that really him?
That was. It looked. I mean,
I
It
couldn't
looked
tell
like
because
him.
he's got
Yeah.
stuff
he
on.
was
so,
wearing
like,
the
yeah.
makeup. I assume.
I didn't
there's-
look at the credits because
I don't think
didn't care. and I was ready
DJ
to go.
Lethal wasn't in it. I'll tell you
Yeah.
that. So he comes around the corner, and of course, Fred Durst today does not look like Fred Durst from
No.
2000, right?
No.
He's gray now. He's got a beard, like a gray beard.
Well, and he's got this thing where he like
He's
wears
weird.
a weird wig and
Yeah, he's
looks
weird.
good.
He's
He
a-
like kind of dresses older than he is.
Sure,
you
sure,
know,
sure.
Yeah,
he
like
dresses-
he's like trying to deliberately subvert his image, where most rock stars
Exactly.
are still trying to look young.
Yeah.
He's like went the other direction.
He's a
and-
weird-
yeah,
and
he's
is
wearing
like,
his New Balance shoes
Yeah.
and stuff. Yeah, he's
New
well-
Balance shoes. Like, can I not?
no, you're
Kinda-
fine.
kinda
You're all
wear
right.
it's okay.
Yeah, you're good.
You and Steve Jobs.
They're comfortable.
Well, this is Fred Durst, circa
what
1990.
about what about hokas? Can I wear hokas? Are those okay?
Yeah.
Are those
Am I
old
if I
people
wear
shoes?
hokas?
No, I mean,
I feel like
good.
I don't know.
Now I'm worried.
Okay running shoes.
I just wear Adidas.
Yeah, that's fine. I just, the Fred Durst being like the
Old man?
old man Fred Durst is just a weird
It is very weird.
thing. But Limp Bizkit playing now is weird too. so.
Limp Bizkit, that's still like, for the most part, I think it's the main.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the main guys.
yeah.
I think the guy
And Wes Borland still
he's back.
pretends like he's in a different band.
It's my favorite.
Which
part.
is,
Always has.
has
Always
always
has.
been the thing that has always kind of struck me as kind of like
the weird.
I like this guy because he just has decided I want to be in this band and that's how I'm going to be. Good luck.
He's like the weird alien guy.
Like, okay.
Every time.
Still doing that.
Like he
I remember it
like he
Limp
tried out for
Bizkit's
Static X.
peak. I was like,
So chocolate starfish and hot dog
yeah,
flavored
I was
water?
like, in 20 years, they're going to be this generation's Poison.
I could see
That
that.
is absolutely
and I
correct.
feel like time has borne me out on that.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Hey man, I
And-
played
and-
the got a significant
And
other.
what yeah.
Yeah.
Because Poison.
I still
But they're
like,
fun.
they're fun.
They are absolutely
But
fun.
they're fun.
Hey, I'm a guy
And
who
you know what?
actually
Credit-
drove around
Yeah.
St. Louis because nobody had it. Look what the cat dragged in.
Yeah.
Whoa.
And I had to find it on cassette at some place way the hell out in North County because nobody had it. And I remember
we
being
did.
especially
No
No-co, baby.
I remember, because I remember hearing "Talk Dirty to Me" and
It's a great
really
song.
enjoying
It's a great
the,
song.
the guitar work from CC DeVille because I was like, he's playing a hollow body, he's got a little bit of a slide thing, and I was a huge Hanoi Rocks fan.
Yeah.
And I felt like they're clearly cribbing a little from Hanoi Rocks, and I don't have a problem with it because
Yeah.
anybody who I love Hanoi Rocks, and so. They are fun.
Yeah.
They're also not good, but
but they're fun.
They are
Didn't
fun.
he get
I
his own
totally get it.
reality show?
Yeah.
On VH1.
Oh,
Rock,
he-
of Love,
yeah,
Rock of Love,
yeah,
right?
Rock of Love, yeah.
Love.
And if you sidebar, if you want to watch, they've got a 3-episode version of the book, Nothing But a Good Time.
Yeah.
I think it's on Hulu.
Okay.
And they talk. Wasp is in there. Hanoi Rocks is in there. I love
Is
that. Good job.
Is it a documentary?
It is a documentary. It's
Okay.
basically the hair metal, the rise and fall of hair metal.
Oh, that sounds kind
And
of great.
you really gain an appreciation for a lot of these guys. A lot of them, they don't hate Nirvana.
Yeah.
They're like, yeah, man, we were
It's
bummed.
always
Put 'em
fascinating.
out of a job.
The
but-
longer
Yeah.
I work in music, it's always fascinating to find that, like, even though all these bands are in their own distinct genres, almost none of them are only listening to their genres. So this idea
sure.
that rock hates country or country hates rap or whatever, it's like it's so not there.
Right.
Even if they say that to you on their public-facing personas, like the behind the scenes, like it's none of it's true. Like to be that involved in music, you just love music,
Sure.
and you're gonna listen to all of it, and it is always fascinating. But I've worked with Poison and Bret Michaels multiple times over the years, and I'll tell you this: Bret Michaels could not be nicer.
I have so much more respect for him based just on this and him like explaining, just the flyering and everything.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was cheap because we went with the Astro Green because nobody would buy it. And that became our color.
And it's funny because my
like, that's
parents,
awesome.
my parents own printing companies.
Yeah, sure.
And so like the paper stock is called an Astro Bright, and like those brilliant neon ones were always the last to move.
Yeah.
And so because we would, when I was in college, when my fraternity would do flyering, I was like, well, come to the shop. Like I had all this. This was back when computers were expensive.
Sure.
My mom's computer that she used for typesetting is what they still called it. It was like a $10,000 computer.
That's wild.
But I was like, I can run it off on the copier. I'm like, we'll make quarter flyers. I knew how to work a paper cutter, like the big industrial paper cutters. And so like I can cut them down and like I'm like, and they were like, holy crap. And so, but yeah, it does. But I will also say, Bret Michaels knows exactly what Poison is. He has no delusions about what they are or where they fit in the pantheon of rock. He's very comfortable with it. He gets it.
Yeah,
And-
he's
yeah.
great. He's great in the documentary.
Yeah, and
the guys from Wasp are in it. Blackie Lawless, pretty sure he's not. But the rest of the guys seem fine.
so that's why it was enjoyable.
Right. So they end up back at the video store, and here comes around the corner. As soon as he started talking, and I was like, "There's no way. There's no way." But he looks like Fred Durst from 1999.
I can't believe he agreed to do any of it.
And it's not a de-aging. They didn't do any of the de-aging tech. They just shaved his goatee into what it looked like then.
I think they used a lot of pancake makeup.
I think they probably
smooth
did.
out
Yeah,
the
for sure. They gave him
wrinkles a
the
little bit.
sideburns as well.
The soul patch.
The stupid soul patch. Such a weird design.
Yeah.
And he starts saying, he's like,
And honestly, he could still pull it off if he wanted to be the rock star who was still trying to look like he did. I mean, he's a little heavier.
yeah,
but,
sure.
But beyond that, like he could still pull it off if he wanted to look
Absolutely.
like that.
If he wanted to rock the baggy jeans and the white T-shirt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you wouldn't know any better.
He wouldn't look any weirder than Robert Smith from The Cure.
He wouldn't look any weirder than Vince Neil.
Yeah.
Boy, if there's ever been a poster child for Call It a Day, it's Vince Neil.
Yeah.
If I paid to go see them and that's what I got, I would want my money back.
Okay, here's the deal. He's always sounded like Trash Live.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
That might be.
I've got bootlegs. I remember buying a.
Didn't really. I mean, didn't. I love Too Fast for Love when it came out, but he didn't sound. It wasn't good.
He's good in the studio,
Sure.
yeah,
but live,
ish.
he's like
It's
he's always sounded awful.
Yeah.
And I remember buying like a bootleg record of a live show when I was in high school.
yeah.
And like he's even when he was thin, he was out of shape.
Sure.
And like he wants to run around and put on this big show, which I appreciate, but he does not have the stamina for it. And so it's like it's like he's singing like every third word. He's
Yeah.
like, looks, kill, blood, thighs. Like he's not fit. He just needs to stand in one place and sing the songs. And if he wants to sound good, and even then, I don't know that he could fully pull it off, but he'd do better than the running around. And I get that he wants to put on a show. But, like, if he wants to put on a show and run around, then he also needs to run around on the days he's not putting on a show
right.
in order to develop the fitness level that you need for something like that.
I mean, I saw David Lee Roth.
And I'll say this. We were talking about how Poison isn't great, but it's fun. But you know what? They put on a show.
Yep.
They sound...
Brett Michaels is still in shape.
They sound
is
like...
coherent. He looks great.
Yeah.
You might not
sounds
like
good.
Poison, but when you see Poison, they sound
You're in
like
it.
Poison.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like you're not
100%
like
agree.
you're not cringing the whole time.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So he comes around the corner and basically says that they were in the middle of a show and all hell broke loose. Wes Borland is gone. And DJ Lethal didn't make it, like got thrown off the stage or whatever. And so now our crew we're going to the school, but now we've also got Fred Durst. We should also say there are two characters. There's one character who is way into Limp Bizkit, and there's another character who thinks Limp Bizkit is
He's
trash.
the indie rapper that
Yes.
thinks like it's
Is-
beneath him.
Is beneath them. And
Feels the way Dan does about Poison.
correct.
I did drive around St. Louis to buy that first release on cassette because nobody had it.
That's funny. Again, this is a scene that I really liked where Fred Durst is like, I'm not doing that. Like, you're insane.
Yeah.
And this girl gives an impassioned speech about how Limp Bizkit is her. Like, it's not about you. It's about what that did for me. And she's wearing like a red New York Yankees hat backwards. And Fred Durst does not have a hat on at this point.
Yeah.
So she basically what Limp
I get in
Bizkit
today's world not wanting to wear a red baseball hat.
makes sense.
Yeah.
Wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Totally fair.
Yeah.
Can't even wear a Cardinals hat anymore.
Well, you just get an away hat.
Yeah.
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 I do not have a red Cardinals hat.
Yeah.
I have a Sunday hat and a away hat. So she gives this impassioned speech about what Limp Bizkit meant to her, and she takes off her hat and she hands it to Fred Durst, and I loved this so much because it is like giving the retired Superman his cape. Like,
Yeah.
we need you.
It's
we
like
need you.
It's like in Rambo 2 when he starts
Yes.
suiting up.
It's Ray
putting
giving
on a-
Luke the lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all that stuff. And he looks at it and he's like, you know what? You're right. And he puts the hat on backwards and he looks just like Fred Durst from
Yeah.
1999. And they make their way to the school. What we find out is that the machines are using humans as their own machines to create more power, and they're going to take over this
Or the
town.
battery source.
Right. They're
for
going to
the
blow up
machines,
this
yeah.
town, and then they're going to move to the next town. Rachel Ziegler has apparently figured out how to make a virus to kill everything, which is very hacker-esque, where it's just
Yeah.
like, here's a USB drive. Boot, fixed it. Like, we got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So our character, they go into the school, and of course,
Like, what we need now is a plot device.
yes,
Yeah.
have I got a plot device for you? So they're distracting the machines, and Fred Durst gets up on stage and starts like, "Hey, we got to work together. We got to do this." And people turn on Fred Durst.
Well, yeah. Somebody goes, "We got any biscuit fans?" And somebody goes, "No."
Well, it's all the parents.
Yeah.
Like,
It's
of course
all
they're
the-
not.
yeah.
It was so good. When you
like,
hear that one voice in the background. No. So the girl that got Fred Durst to be there, she's like, "You don't know where you're. This is the Fred Durst and blah blah." And they start playing Faith, Limp Bizkit's cover of Faith.
Yeah.
Which I think was their first big one, right? That's their first like big hit. Right? 'Cause
No,
that's
Nookie.
off.
Nookie.
No. Faith is off of $2 Bill,
Oh.
which is the album before Significant Other.
I rely on
yeah,
you.
$2 Bill was that had Faith on it. Nookie was on Significant Other, and then obviously Roland was on Chocolate Starfish and the Hot Dog Flavored Water.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
For that, all
Yep.
of that.
There's a Significant Other is a very good album. I like that album a lot.
Okay.
I might listen to it on the way home.
Yeah.
We'll see. So he starts, and of course the crowd gets into it. Rachel Ziegler.
Counterfeit. That was the first
Counterfeit.
big one.
Okay, that makes sense. Which
Yeah.
is also on $2 Bill.
Yes.
Yeah. And they covered Behind Blue Eyes, and that was it.
That was on the
That
Mission
was-
Impossible soundtrack, wasn't it?
No, they did a Mission Impossible. It was them and Metallica did songs on Mission Impossible 2, and then there was another album after that. I don't remember the name of it, but that had, it may have been a greatest, I don't know, but they did a cover of Behind Blue Eyes, and that was kind of the end of it. They called it a day after that, but they're back now.
Yeah, it's nostalgia.
Yeah, nostalgia.
The poison of
that's right.
generation.
All right, stand by Dan's statement.
Yeah.
Or Tom's statement. Sorry. So Rachel Ziegler thinks she's got it figured out, and of course, that's the worst CG guy who's just running his mouth the whole time.
Now we're watching the Lawnmower Man.
That's exactly what I thought. 100%. So as she's about to input the USB drive, there's electrical current that she can't get through.
Yeah.
And Eli, our main character,
you notice that at this point when she's hacking, it's pretty much like the whole hacking scene in Jurassic Park.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I like the superimposed shots of their faces where they're super shocked that they made it this far.
Yeah. It's like, well, now we're watching that, where they're when they're scrubbing through the database.
What was the Michael Douglas Demi Moore one?
Not Virtuosity.
Disclosure?
There's a hacking scene in Disclosure.
Well, that's where they're in the VR.
Yes.
Oh my god, that movie's so stupid.
Yeah.
I saw that at the theater at a promotional screening. And I was like, this is terrible.
Where's the giant Dorito?
So bad.
Dan, what's the oldest movie you saw at a press screening? Not necessarily for the press.
Oldest?
But not like you were in the press, but maybe you won tickets on the radio. What's the furthest
I
back
know
you
mine.
can go?
You go.
Oh man, it's God. It's gonna go. Pre me. Oh God, what did I see? She's having a baby.
Oh,
that I remember.
Yeah. Okay.
Batman Forever.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tickets off the radio for that one.
Were you at the Galleria show for that one?
Oh, I don't remember.
That's where I saw it. I saw that with my parents, and I just was like, well, that sucked.
I loved it. When he says
Oh, no, not Forever. Sorry.
Batman and Robin.
Batman and Robin is what I
That
saw. At the
sucked.
Galleria. That was the one where I said it sucked. No, Batman Forever I didn't
When
hate.
I remember
he
seeing
says
Batman and Robin with a friend. We were both huge Batman fans.
Sure, of
he
course.
was actually a customer at the comic book store I worked at that we became friends with, joined the fraternity. And we got to the end, and he was just like, God, that was bad. And I was like, oh. And I was like, yeah. I go, honestly, I was ready to leave. And he was like, oh, man, I only stayed because I thought you wanted to stay. And I was like, well, I only stayed because I thought you wanted to stay.
Yeah.
that's so good. I remember in Batman Forever, so that was what, 95? So I was in 7th grade? Yeah. When Bruce says to Dick, where are you going to go? The circus has got to be halfway to Metropolis by now.
Yeah.
And I was like, ooh. He said Metropolis. Superman's in this world somewhere while they were prepping to make the Nicolas Cage Superman movie. That never happened. But yeah, I remember being like, they said it. It's going to happen. It didn't happen until 2016.
Yeah.
And then we covered that on this show.
Yeah.
Basically, they figured there's this condom that has been this running gag.
The
throughout
MacGuffin.
The MacGuffin.
I knew as soon as they said it, I was like, it's going to get used.
Right.
It's not going to get used for sex.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right.
So she wraps her hand in the condom to fight off the current. They plug it in.
Yeah, I don't know if that would actually
I don't think that it would
work
It would probably melt it off.
from my father worked for Union Electric
Okay.
in Ameren. I'll have to check. And
But he would have
see
like,
if-
he would have those heavy duty,
yes, exactly.
but thick ones.
yeah, really
Yeah.
thick.
Well,
Yeah,
I will
right.
say it was shocking her. It was just
Yeah.
enough that she could
She could
still
force through.
put the USB.
Yeah,
in. It wasn't like it completely insulated.
Yeah.
her
Sure,
from the
sure, sure.
electricity.
Yeah, I mean, it was the MacGuffin to put the MacGuffin in.
Right.
Right. So they put the MacGuffin in, and it turns everything off. That's. I mean, it happens real fast. Everything
it's
is
just
blah,
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 blah.
everything's gone. And the humans win the day. We flash forward 5 years. Fred Durst is now the man. He's running
Yeah.
for president or whatever. Break Stuff is the highest selling.
be worse.
Could be worse. Honestly, it is worse.
It is. It's about to be.
It's about Break Stuff is the number one selling album of
all time.
the song of all
Yeah.
time. And it ends with them being, Rachel or Eli and Rachel Ziegler are together. The girl's using an iPod, which it was wild to see an older iPod like that.
Yeah.
I just found, as a matter of fact, an iPod mini, an original iPod mini, and then like 160 gig iPod.
I think those go for money.
I've got one.
Yeah.
I found
those are sought after now.
I wonder. I mean,
Ooh,
it's.
I'll have to look. I had a Nano. I think I might still have my old iPod.
I don't know about the Nanos and the Minis, but I know
I've
that
got
that iPod with the wheel,
Yep.
like those.
Those are
sought
I'll tell you,
after.
it's charcoal.
Yeah.
And it's like got 162 gigs on there. I'm sure it's still full of.
I had the first iPod at the company I worked at, and everybody was like, "That's just a wasted money." Nobody could believe it. Like,
It's
why?
why it is.
This
Nobody
kid,
understood.
we should have never trusted this kid with the internet.
Yeah, it was like the
It
kid
is-
had the internet. Now
It
he's
is
got
wild
this box.
how fast. You know what I mean? Saying like when I was, it was Walkman.
1,000
Right,
songs in your pocket. Wow.
Yeah.
But I mean, like how fast even the iPod changed. Like I mean,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
what.
That's
20
when it was an
years.
actual hard drive in there.
Yeah.
You
And you
know.
had to like plug it into something else to get the music onto the,
yeah.
and now iTunes doesn't exist. Like
Yeah.
you can't, they don't
Yeah.
have a desktop app anymore. Thank God, because it was terrible. And that's how this, obviously the teaser is that the virus is still
Of course.
in
Yeah.
the
Mm-hmm.
iPod. Look, this hit a nostalgia button for me that I think if you like Kyle Mooney and you like his style of comedy and you're it's a very niche
Yeah.
group of people.
Very much. So.
This is going to hit hard for you, and I
Yeah.
think it's going to be very funny. I think if you don't like Kyle Mooney, you're probably not going to like this. If you're
Agreed.
not of the right age, you're not
Yeah.
going to like this because it's not going to make as much sense.
This is a very hyper-specific type of comedy for a very hyper-specific
Yeah.
sliver of a demographic.
And then I saw when I was buying tickets for this, there's a movie called Werewolves that got released at the same
Yeah.
day, which is basically The Purge but with werewolves.
Yeah.
Starring Frank Grillo is in
Yeah.
it as well, and I was
Lou
like,
Diamond Phillips.
yes.
Yeah.
Basically in that one, I didn't watch it, but it's like something like there's a full moon once, and it turns everyone in for whatever reason turns everyone into werewolves, and then it becomes The Purge with werewolves, and it looked fantastic because they have practical effects, and I love practical effects.
Yeah, I mean, that's one thing I like right off the bat. I was like, oh, well, all right, I respect that.
When the big one came walking out, I was like, okay,
Yeah.
like that's a thing, like
Yeah.
that's a full suit that somebody is in.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
good.
And I was down with that.
Yeah.
You
I
know.
think this is. I do think this one is going to probably find a second life.
I could see this becoming a cult movie
Yeah.
and people thinking that we're old curmudgeons for
Right.
not loving it.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah.
I think this has the ability to do that. Time will tell.
I
guess.
I really didn't walk out of this like hating the movie. I just felt like, it could have been better, and it's all from a technical standpoint.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
That was it. I mean, it
Was this
really,
A-
I was
was this
like,
A24?
honestly, the weakest
Yeah.
part of this, were it wasn't even the story beats and stuff like that. It just felt like tonally, it would never really seem to know which way it wanted to go, and it was like, on this like sort of like
I've kind of-
fulcrum where it was like we're funny, but not
I've kind of
funny enough.
noticed that with A24 comedies,
Yeah.
and I use that term loosely
Yeah.
because they're known for kind of the high concept. I hate saying that,
They're
but like
fringe.
high concept
Yeah.
horror, stuff like that. So when they kind of walk away from the horror world
Mm-hmm.
and they start doing like bodies, I thought was very funny.
Mhm.
But that is a A24 comedy,
Right.
right? And I think sometimes they hit with those, with that, like specifically they did, and this one they hit for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I could definitely see where it would
Even
not.
with bodies, I found myself sitting there more like being like, that's funny, instead of actually laughing.
Sure. Which honestly,
You know?
though, I feel like that's what comedy is now.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We talked about that with Ghostbusters, where it's like,
That wasn't funny.
I mean, they tried to
Yeah.
do jokes,
But I wasn't sitting there going, that's funny. I was sitting there going, that was supposed
to be funny.
Or that should have been funny.
I don't think that there are many comedies that make you laugh out loud. And maybe it's a communal experience, right? Like if one person, it kind of spreads through a theater. But like that style of comedy, Caddyshack, stuff like that. Like,
well, you're also getting fewer and fewer comedies in theater, so you're tending to watch them at home by yourself, where you're not as apt to laugh out loud.
Sure. No, I totally agree. And I hope someday soon there's a studio like Blumhouse that will do what Blumhouse did for horror for comedy.
Yeah.
Well, and comedy, it's cyclical because,
Sure.
comedy was dead for a long time. And then really and we talked about a bunch of the movies that helped bring it back, but like The Hangover,
Yeah.
like that was like, because it had a very fallow period.
Yeah.
I mean, there were comedies, but not like that. And then The Hangover
not
came
big giant
out,
hits.
and then
Well,
it becomes like a juggernaut.
Well, I would think Wedding Crashers predates Hangover.
Right.
Wedding Crash. Well,
And
I would say Old School
Yeah.
sets the table for Wedding Crashers.
There you go.
Which sets the table for The Hangover.
Yeah.
Which then sets the table for
you got
Apatow.
you got
Yes.
Apatow. The Hangover takes it like absurdist and dangerous.
Yeah.
Where it's like it's funny, but it's also kind of like, it just has a lot of that. I feel like, again, in deft hands, this probably would have been a better movie.
Sure.
Agreed.
I don't disagree
Yeah.
at all. I don't disagree.
So
at all.
it's like not that like nothing about it was bad. It just was like,
Disappointing.
could have
you
done.
know.
Could have
But I
done.
didn't-
Could have done
like I
better.
said, I didn't hate it. It was an hour and a half. I was fine.
I-
And yeah, Fred Durst, I was like, because he came out, I was like, well, but because that is not my jam. But
Did not expect it to be the highlight of the film.
Sure.
But here we
I
are.
did not.
Right.
But
And
here
when
we
you
are.
said that, he's like, yeah, he's the best part of the movie. And I was like, hey, I thought you were being sarcastic.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, he actually was.
No, he was.
How about that?
He was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, there you go.
So I guess that's it for this one. Let's go around the table and everyone can say where to find them.
This is Dan again. You can find me online on X and Facebook, and if I may, we have a new show and channel coming to YouTube called The Hububbery.
Oh, nice.
HUBBERY. You can find us on Facebook. That should be launching fairly soon.
Dope. That's
Awesome.
great.
Yeah, it's dorks and pop culture. So
That's what we do.
That's
yeah.
No, wait a goddamn minute.
Well, we're actually kind of hoping to, we're kind of like,
this like
we're
when-
going to Super Friends this.
Are we?
Is this
bitch.
like when Meadowlark Lemon started the Bucketeers?
No, this is more. I would say like East Coast Avengers, West Coast Avengers thing. Maybe we could try. This.
Hey, who are we?
You guys are the original
Oh, okay.
Avengers.
All right.
He's like, okay.
I'm not even.
That's
We're
fine.
not even Avengers.
Great Lakes Avengers.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
This is Joe. You can follow me on the Twitter at JoeyButts, BUTTS21, also on Letterboxd at the same. And don't forget to check out, I'm still doing the 31 Days of Christmas. I think I just did the Guardians of the Galaxy special, and I did, if you haven't seen it, there is a new, it's almost a Christmas story or carol. It's on Disney Plus. It's pretty fantastic. It looks amazing. It's only 30 to 40 minutes, I think. It's very, very good. Yeah, you can find me there.
And you can find me on Threads and Blue Sky at Tom O'Keefe Jr. and Facebook at facebook.com/Tom O'Keefe. You can find the show online at facebook.com/Real Spoilers. While you're there, like the page, join the group, and of course, don't forget our Patreon, where for $5 a month, you get bonus content and our undying love.
Yes.
So that's it for this one. Thanks for tuning in. And until next time, not keep pedaling. That's the other podcast. Hang on. I have something else I'm supposed
It's not
to say.
us.
Here we go. Until next time, Zeke makes the football team.
Get ready for a spoiler. Won't say it twice, 'cause we already